American Football Stories is brought to you by Coach Paint. Coach Paint is a great tool that allows us to add graphics to player highlight clips similar to the graphics you see on TV. Coach Paint offers the ability to clearly tellustrate video while increasing retention of information in a shorter amount of time. Up your game with Coach Paint today.
What time is it? Game time! It's gonna be special. They gonna talk about this forever.
Welcome to American Football Stories.
Puts his head down, crashes and spins, and dives. Touchdown!
Bringing together the many perspectives that make up college football in the NFL.
Football is one of the greatest sports ever invented.
From players and coaches.
Believe, baby, believe, baby.
Hey, we playing to win right here, fellas.
To the front office and scouts.
The public is finally beginning to catch up, but they don't even know half the truth.
Us against the world, let's get it.
Your hosts, Robert Parker and Nick Knudsen, bring you American Football Stories.
Welcome to the American Football Stories podcast brought to you by Coach Paint. I'm your host, Nick Knudsen, joined by my co-host, Robert Parker. Today is June 23rd, 2021, and our guest is Charlotte 49ers head coach Healy. Coach Healy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. Y'all must have run out of people to ask.
Well, to tell you the truth, we wanted to reach out to a bunch of coaches here, but we really started with you because, Rob, where did you go to college? Where did you graduate from?
UNC Charlotte. Go 49ers.
That's what I'm talking about. Man after my own heart. Love it, man. Go Niners.
Go Niners.
So, yeah, extra fired up to have you on today. But just to give our audience a little background on Coach before diving in here, Coach Healy's entering into his third season at Charlotte, whose football program has only existed since 2015. Healy's only his second coach in Niners history. In his first season, though, he led the 49ers to a 7-win season, program high, and their first bowl appearance. His success at Charlotte comes on the heels of a great tenure and a dramatic turnaround in 3 seasons at Austin Peay, which before his arrival was one of the worst programs in college FCS football, arguably. And before his head coaching career, Healy spent 7 years as an assistant at Chattanooga and was a team captain on the 2008 FCS national champion Richmond Spiders team. And Coach, your story, I know everybody, I've listened to a ton of interviews, done a ton of research on your background and everything, and I know you talked up and down at Austin about your time at Austin Peay. And obviously you're a young coach. They took a chance on you. You took a chance on them type of situation. But when you took over at Austin Peay, the program really was so low. They hadn't won a game in a couple of years. How do you turn an opening campaign in your first season of 0-11 in 2016 into the top recruiting class in 2017 in the FCS? Like, what are you out there saying to recruits to get them fired up about Austin Peay football after an 0-11 season to open your tenure?
Well, I think the biggest thing for me was we have to make sure that the guys we're recruiting get on campus as much as humanly possible. And so it made the most sense to start with local guys. You know, I mean, you were 45 minutes from downtown Nashville whenever you were at Austin Peay. And so recruiting the state of Tennessee was extremely important for us. And getting guys to buy into a vision of a program. And obviously they had to have some faith because it hadn't happened yet. But I thought that the more they got a chance to be around our staff and they were courageous enough to make a big time, unpopular decision and had enough faith in themselves and wanted to bet on themselves enough to make sure it became a cool and a popular decision by the time they left. It's hard to do that when you're talking about a guy who's 15 hours away from campus or 10 hours away from campus. So it was extremely important for us to be able to, recruit heavily in the state of Tennessee and the state of Kentucky, surrounding states, get guys on campus on unofficial visit as much as humanly possible, get guys to games. And then we had to work harder from a relationship perspective because they had to believe in us, not a program, not a history, in us as a staff. And I was fortunate to be able to hire the right guys and then be able to recruit the right type of players, because really when you go 0-11, I mean, the only chance you have to create a buzz is about a future and about a recruiting class. So, that was the lifeblood of our program, still is. And I felt like our staff did a really good job of convincing guys that we promise you we'll make this decision a cool one by the time you leave.
And with that said, I could see where someone gets on campus in front of you, and I assume your staff has the same upbeat type of mentality that you do, where that could be contagious, and you could see, where that would appeal to a high school recruit. But how much for the average football fan, they think about the recruiting aspect being about between players and coaches and everything, but how much that is developing relationships with the local high school scene and with the coaches and the state associations with the coaches and everything. How much of it what percentage do you think is what fans don't think about? Because I think fans think about the players coming to campus, being wowed and saying, okay, I'll play, but how much of it is really developing relationships with those coaches and everything?
Well, I say that it's got to be cool to play football at Austin Peay or Charlotte, right? And how do you do that? Well, I think social media plays a huge part in that, right? What graphics are you pumping out? How much are you staying in contact with your recruits via social media, having things that they can post? I think that what are you doing to sell your program? What is it about your program that makes you unique? And then being able to utilize that. Maybe it is another social media platform that you're able to sell in those aspects. But to me, the whole thing revolves around accessibility. And I think that's for fans. I think that's for high school coaches. I think that's for recruits. We take pride in non-COVID years having the most accessible football program in the country. And that's for students. That's for professors. That's for high school coaches. That's for high school prospects. That's for our fans. We don't have anything to hide. We're proud of what we do and how we do it. And we want you to get to know our players and our coaches. And I just think that being able to develop relationships in your community, especially with high school coaches, is really important. And then making sure that what you are telling them is what's important to you, and this is what the experience will be like. Making sure that the experience is actually like that, because you may be able to fool them on the first time, but if they got a guy who gets there and he's not happy because he wasn't prepared for the type of experience he had, then you're going to ruin it the next time you go back in there. So having a sustainable relationship, like being up front, honest, transparent. This is what we have. This is what we don't. This is what we're working on. This is who I am. This is what we demand, what we expect. Making sure the recruiting process is just not all roses. I think you may have some uncomfortable conversations on the front end, but everybody's on the same page about what it should look like and what it will look like. And then when those guys get back to, high school and they're telling their coach, hey, this is what he said and this is what he meant. I mean, this is what it's really like here, I think is really important. It's not just about fooling them the first time. It's about being real and transparent from the get-go, having an open dialogue and an accessible program.
Yeah, that's awesome stuff right there, Coach. I would just like to transition a little bit. So when it comes to playing and coaching a team sport, I know sometimes that individual accolades kind of get pushed to the side. But could you tell us what did it mean on a personal level and a coaching level to win the Eddie Robinson Coach of the Year award in 2017?
It's sitting right up on my desk on our bookshelf right now, and I don't know that it still has really sunk in. I don't know. I think one day, when I've been fired 4 or 5 times and have a chance to sit back and look and say, man, there was one time where somebody was crazy enough to think that, that I was the national coach of the year. That'll be cool. But I think about how lucky I am to have, the group of staff that I had around me that still believed in me after I went 0-11 and 0 for my first 13 as a head coach, and a group of players who could have called it quits so much longer before that and said, this little 12-year-old doesn't know what the heck he's doing. I'm not buying in. They were unbelievable, and they worked their rear end off. And I know coaches say it all the time, but literally, I was the most overrated human being in the United States for the year of 2017 is really what happened. So fortunate and lucky. Eddie Robinson won 426 games. I had won 8 when I won the award. So there is no comparison, but it was an unbelievable, magical season, and was one I'll never forget, and very fortunate to be with that group.
That's awesome. And with that being said, Coach, I know you mentioned a little bit earlier, but in what way did the Austin Peay job prepare you to take on the role as the head coach at a fairly new program in Charlotte, like we mentioned earlier?
There are definite parallels to programs, but obviously what changes when you go from the FCS level to the FBS level are resources and the number of people you have around you. And even still learning what it looks like at the highest level and how you can make Charlotte football the big time, and what are other people that you're recruiting against. Obviously the recruiting battles change, where when you were at Austin Peay, you sold the fact that you got a recruit that had offers from these people. And then, when you get into this level, you're fighting official visits for these guys, right? Somebody's coming to your place for an official visit, and then they're going to those places for official visits. So it's not a guy that was offered by that place in June, and then, those offers fall through and now he's interested in Austin Peay. These are real legit battles that you're in. And so I think the resources change. I think building there are parallels to how do we take the next step? How do we recruit at a higher level? How do we make sure that we pack the stands? How do we get students involved? How do we fundraise? How do we travel right and take pride in what we're doing? Meanwhile, our players making sure they're grateful for what they have. If it's a pair of socks or a wristband, you better make sure that you're grateful for what you have, and we'll continue to work for more. So there's a lot of things that, I learned at Austin Peay. There's a lot of dumb mistakes that I still make, but a lot of things that I did at Austin Peay that I learned from my mistakes, and continue to do so now. But, it's definitely a different type of, pressure, which I think pressure is earned. We haven't necessarily got there yet, but different expectations, different type of city and surrounding and resources that I think the Austin Peay job has really helped me. I think it would be much more difficult for me to learn how to be a head coach at my age if it was my first job at the Conference USA level. Fortunately for me, and it didn't mean any different to me. I wanted to win the OVC just like I want to win the Conference USA, but I've learned from my mistakes along the way.
Now, just speaking just staying on recruiting, Coach, and just talking about the city of Charlotte, what are some of the advantages in recruiting in a major city like Charlotte? I'm familiar with the area, and there's some great football programs from a high school level out there. You have the Butlers of the world, you have the Independents, the Audrey Kells, the Providence. So what is the major impact when it comes to recruiting, just, from a landscape standpoint, when you're in a city like Charlotte?
Well, the Carolinas in general have unbelievable talent. So the unique part about it, just like we talked about at Austin Peay, when you're talking about making sure that the guys who are around the area get a chance to get on your campus a bunch and see what you're doing and buy into your staff and understand your culture, and you can feel really good about them when they're coming in, and they can feel really good about you. And hopefully that allows you to be able to win some battles that from an outsider's perspective, you shouldn't. And so when you have great talent locally, it gives you a huge advantage. I think the other thing about it is with the transfer portal. I mean, let's be honest, it's part of the game of football now and part of NCAA athletics. So when you have great talent and they leave, they love this city and they may want to come back. And the pool of guys that you're choosing from there may be larger because you're in such a great city. The other thing about it is, just like what I said, it is an unbelievable city. It's a place where coaches want to coach, and it's a place where players want to play. And so we have a distinct advantage on a lot of our competition because of the type of city we have. And with that type of city comes opportunities, not just for fundraising and fans and support and media exposure, but also for opportunities for our guys whenever they leave. And, it's a special place.
So I would like to pivot a little bit, Coach. And when it comes to coaching the game of football, 2 words usually jumps out for me, and that's in regards to philosophy and culture. From a culture standpoint, can you elaborate on Club Lit and explain to our audience how that started?
Yeah. Other than the fact that my wife being embarrassed every time I take my shirt off on, national television, the whole thing stemmed from year 2. I was at Austin Peay. I'd gone 0-12 as a head coach. we had a shot to beat Cincinnati, our first game of the season in 2017, Luke Fickell's first game, which obviously shows how good he is with what he's been able to do for his program. And so the next game we go play Miami of Ohio. After we played Cincinnati really close, had opportunities and kept it competitive, we go and lay an egg at Miami of Ohio. And again, credit to them. But we didn't really look interested. We didn't have a whole lot of juice about ourselves. We didn't look like we had a whole lot of fun playing football, but we had a great week of preparation. And so I met with our leadership group, and Max Ewalt, one of our 6-year seniors, had won one game in his career. And I said, guys, what is it, man? We had the most unbelievably energetic, enthusiastic, passionate practices we've ever had leading into this week. Y'all did an unbelievable job. And then we get to the game and you look disinterested. What is it? And Max said, Coach, Monday through Friday, we get a chance to hide. You know, we've been getting our butts kicked around here for a long time. Saturdays are not fun. We get exposed on Saturdays. And so I said, all right, we're going to win the football game this Saturday, break the nation's longest losing streak, and we're going to have more fun winning than anybody in the history of college football. And, you know, celebrate when you score a touchdown. We're going to celebrate in the locker room like no other. And so we played Morehead State that week. You know, we'd had a new set of goalposts ready to be put up, but I told them we're not putting new goalposts up until we win a game around here. So our old goalposts look like V's. I mean, it was, you know, just awful. And, you know, won the game 69-13, tore the goalpost down, smoked cigars in the locker room, danced, took my shirt off, whatever, you know, and what I wanted to do was make sure that we had so much fun celebrating success that we created an environment where those guys craved that environment again each and every Saturday. And they would work really hard to make sure that they got a chance to feel that feeling again. You know, our boosters were getting off the elevator, smelling the smoke, about to, you know, coughing. And we had to leave the doors open for like 5 straight days to get the cigar smoke out. And I think we got like 10 personal fouls. And the commissioner of our league called and said, you know, act like you've been there before. And I said, we haven't. So, you know, it was an unbelievable experience. And at that point in time, I just realized how important it was when you work for 365 days for 12 guaranteed opportunities. When success comes, you need to celebrate it. And there has to be some joy in the journey, as Jeff Durden, my old boss at Chattanooga, used to say. And, you know, we've kept with that, you know. I remember that same year in 2017, you know, we won 5 out of our next 6 games, and we're going on an unbelievable run. We were beating Southeast Missouri, you know, pretty handily. And, you know, they came back and scored like 28 unanswered in the fourth quarter. We didn't finish very well. They made it a tight football game, but we still won. And I got on the headset and I told the staff, if we don't go in there and act like we just won the Super Bowl, then you're all fired. Because it was 6 weeks ago, we would have paid for a win. And now you're going to act like, man, we won, but we, you know, we didn't win by big enough, or we didn't finish. No. We'll worry about that stuff on Monday. We will learn how to, you know, to finish people. But right now we're going to enjoy it, and because we worked really hard for this. And I've kept that mentality because I know what it was like to go 0-11 and 0 for my first 13, that when success happens, whether it's in practice, whether it's in academics, whether it's in the community, or especially when it happens on the football field, we're going to celebrate it.
That's awesome stuff right there, Coach. I know we've been talking about recruiting a lot so far, but I just want to go back and revisit the topic. So when it comes to recruiting, a lot of variables ultimately factor in, but could you emphasize how have high-level players like Benny LeMay, Alex Highsmith, and Cameron Clark impacted the Charlotte football program on the recruiting trail, particularly in the state which features 6 other FBS programs?
Even though you don't have a ton of history and tradition here, you've still had really good short-term success on guys playing in the National Football League. A large number, you know, in a very short FBS experience for our program. So it's not you selling a vision on, hey, come here and you may be able to do it. They've seen guys in front of them that have been able to do it. And you've had a very large number of NFL teams that come through here on a regular basis, scouting talent. And because of the success of Nate Davis starting at guard for the Titans, and Cam Clark and Benny LeMay and Alex Highsmith starting for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and, some guys before Austin Duke, Juwan Foggy. I mean, we've had a long list of guys that, have had opportunities to play at the next level. And so it's not just selling a pipe dream. The guys have seen it happen, and that definitely helps in recruiting. Obviously, being in the city with another NFL organization doesn't hurt either. And I think the relationship that Matt Rule and I have, and the way the Panthers have embraced our football program, I think has been incredible. You talk about accessibility, what they've been able to provide for us has been awesome. And so sharing, I mean, I want our guys to want to go play in the National Football League. And I want that to be a dream of theirs and to become a reality of theirs. And so with the success of guys that have come before them, it's a reality that they can accomplish here, and fired up to continue that trend.
What types of things do y'all do with the Panthers?
Well, I think the biggest thing is the staff relationship, and the accessibility for us, and for us to be able to use those guys as resources, and talking to them about what they do schematically, and getting some ideas from them. Maybe it's practice tips. Maybe it's, a lot of it is how they recover, doctors and trainers and, psychologists and then, facilities, being able to go around there. I think it's been an open door policy for us, and obviously started with Ron Rivera and Matt Rule being, a former college guy himself. I think he understands that if he can support us, and I think he knows it would do a lot for us in recruiting and help us with the relationships around the city. So he's been tremendous. That whole organization, Tom Glick, everybody has been great. So it's mainly a relationship, and they've been there for us for whatever we've needed.
Fantastic. All right, let's jump into the transfer portal. I know we've touched on it a little bit here, but it's obviously having a major impact on roster building in college football. Your program itself is welcoming 12 transfers this season from schools like Florida, Iowa, and Notre Dame. How has your staff adjusted to the rapidly changing landscape? I mean, we just saw a Supreme Court ruling on the NCAA yesterday. The landscape of college athletics in general is just changing frequently here. How are you guys staying on your toes and adjusting?
The reality of the situation is nobody cares what I have to say, right? And I'm not even discrediting myself. I'm saying Nick Saban, Dabo Swinney, Kirby Smart, those guys, people are listening to what they have to say about it, right? People at the NCAA level, I'm sure those guys have earned the opportunity to have a say. I haven't, right? So as I look at these things, it's kind of like, all right, I can complain about what it's going to do to hurt us, or I can be like, look, this could be great for us. Mm-hmm. I mean, NIL, right? I mean, it's happening. Whether I like it or not, it's happening. So what can I do to use it as an advantage? We live in Charlotte, North Carolina, right? I mean, unbelievable advantage for us for resources and opportunities for our guys for name, image, likeness, okay? Transfer portal. We live in Charlotte, North Carolina, an unbelievable city where guys want to either come back to play or go to play because they know it creates opportunities for them, and it's a big market for them to be able to go play. So it's really not what has it done to hurt us. Obviously, there will be guys that will leave this program and have opportunities to go play at places that they think can help their future. And I'm happy for them. If they find the right fit in a place they're passionate about playing, I'm happy for them. We want to make sure that we create an environment here where guys don't want to leave, right? So we're always recruiting our own players. But the transfer portal, my biggest thing is we're not going to make a living on it. I want to build this thing with high school players, and I want to build this thing with guys who have a vested interest in this university and this city and want to make this place special. And I think it's harder to do on, a guy who's here for a year. But we're definitely going to use it to our advantage and make sure we recruit the right ones. The right ones to come here and stay here and want to be involved in building something that's never happened before.
What would be your advice to players? Because you yourself, as a player, you started at Air Force. You originally committed to Air Force. Now, obviously, there's a whole lot of off-the-field obligations at the Air Force Academy that you don't have at a lot of other schools. But you ended up, like I said, with that national championship Richmond team in 2008. You played most of your career with the Richmond Spiders at the FCS level. But what went into your decision to transfer? And because obviously that probably puts you in a unique situation. A lot of the coaches who talk about this probably didn't transfer themselves. You've had that personal experience with that.
You know what? That is an awesome question that nobody has ever asked me before. And I think there's two parts to that answer. Okay. One is I was not mature enough as an 18-year-old to make a decision on where I found the best fit. All right. I wanted to feed my ego, and Air Force was the biggest ego feeder for me, right? Unbelievable place, Fisher to Berry, unbelievable coach, incredible opportunities that it provided. I was a bad fit at Air Force Academy, right? I thought I was going to go do football. I got out there, they shaved my head, and I went to basic training, right? Bad. I knew coming from a single A high school in the state of Tennessee, everybody knew who Air Force Academy was. So it fed my ego of like, I'm good enough. I'm signing to go play Division I football. And then I go to Richmond and I have a great experience. I find a great fit. Even though I didn't get the playing time at Richmond, I would have loved to have had, right? I would have loved to have been a 4-year starter and rewritten the record books. I was a backup the entire time I was there. And to be honest with you, it was fortunate that Dave Clausen gave me an opportunity to be a scholarship football player there. If it were not a transition year with him coming in and they just needed a quarterback, I don't know that I would have had that opportunity, right? Unbelievable school, incredible people, my best friends, people in my wedding that I had an opportunity to be able to meet, at Richmond. But you're right. I went to a place originally because it was the biggest offer. And then I went and found the best fit. So I understand it. I also understand how sometimes you can be put in a situation where you're just ready to get out and you may question what your love is for the game of football, right? I never lost love for football. I wasn't at a great fit. And I have so many friends who were great fits at Air Force. I wasn't tough enough, right? I wasn't committed to that opportunity. And so found a great fit at Richmond, had an unbelievable experience, won a national title, and playing for Dave Clausen and Mike London made me into the coach I am today. So I get why guys may be unhappy and looking for the right fit. I want guys that want to be here, and same thing for coaches. And I understand how this thing can somehow, some way, it can change. And I get that as well.
Great perspective there, Coach. Hey, look, I know you gave the Dabo and Nick Saban, Kirby Smart are the ones who have opinions on the big topic answer on the last one here, but the college football playoff proposal to expand to 12 teams, that's got to have Charlotte pretty excited, a school like Charlotte pretty excited, because we've seen schools come through Conference USA. I go back in my mind to 1998 with Sean King and that Tulane Green Wave team with Tommy Bowden and everything. 12-0 season, you could put that together with the 12-team playoff. You're really no doubt in that mix. So the way the system is set up right now, and I know you're not here, you're not going to try to whine about the system or anything like that, but it's got to be exciting to see that idea to where, hey, we're really opening up the opportunity to compete for a title for every FBS program, just like it is on the FCS level, where right now the system is built toward, you could go 12-0 at a group of 5 school and you still might get overlooked for that playoff spot.
It's great for group of 5 schools, especially.
Yeah.
Everybody has a legit, you're no longer, going to say you're coming here, but you have no legitimate opportunity to win a national title, right? Which recruiting at the FCS level, that was one of the things I used against the group of 5 schools, right? Come here, you have a chance to win a national title. Go there, you have a chance to play in a bowl game, but it's not the same. You're not a national champion like we were at Richmond, right? Mm-hmm. So now you're going to have 12 opportunities and maybe even host on your own campus, right? I mean, obviously it's a goal of ours at Charlotte to host a playoff game on your campus. If they go to the, where they have the host sites for, schools 5 through 12. So I think it does nothing but help group of 5 brand of football. We've got a long way to go to be in that conversation. I know how difficult it is to be in that conversation and what type of special year you would have to have, but it is something that we can now shoot for and have, a legit opportunity to be able to accomplish if we have a special year.
completely changes everything at that level, for sure. But the one concern a lot of, college people who grew up watching college football have is, do you think that would devalue the importance of some regular season games? Because right now, the one great part about college football is even competing for that conference title. Every week matters. Every week is so important, and you lose one game, it could just devastate your entire year. You open it up a little bit, it's more like the NFL where you got more couple different shots. Based on your experience at the FCS level, do you feel like any regular season games are devalued, or is that just fans talking a little bit?
Well, I mean, do you think Nick Saban's going to devalue a game knowing that he can probably lose one and still be in it? Right. I mean, competitors compete, right. And I think that what it probably does as much as anything is it encourages people to have really good non-conference schedules, right? I mean, people get upset when there's 3 FCS games on somebody's, I know people don't have, but like, I don't like when they play this team, this team, this team. Well, maybe now your home slate's a little bit different, where guys feel like they can play some more powerhouses out of conference, and your regular season games, you feel like you got to continue to test yourself. I think the other thing about it is nobody doesn't watch an NFL game, right? I mean, all the games matter, and all that people know in this, in the game of college football, it may be right. If I lose one, maybe now I'm the 3 seed instead of the 1 seed, or maybe now I'm the 5 seed and have to play an extra game instead of the 3 seed. I mean, all the games are still going to matter. How do you position yourself in the best way to go win a national title? And that's by being the number 1 seed. So every game matters from that aspect of it. So no, I mean, I know the other question is, how does it devalue bowl games? Right. Well, look, I mean, people are making that argument right now, right? If you're not in the national championship game, people are sitting out, and I get it, but I just think that, if you're running your program the right way, every week matters. And I think that will stay the same.
Well, how much did the bowl game, again, you're in a great position to answer that question. First bowl game in program history, how much did that mean when y'all went to the Bahamas Bowl a couple of years ago?
Anybody who says we should eliminate bowl games has never been a part of the Charlotte fan base or the Charlotte football team or the Charlotte coaching staff going to their first bowl game. I am all about how do we give these student athletes an experience they'll never forget.
Yeah.
Our guys hopped on a chartered plane, and flew to Atlantis and stayed at Atlantis for 5 days. And we got our butt kicked, which still ticks me off. Buffalo kicked our rear end, right? But we had an unbelievable experience leading up to kickoff, right? And then Lance and them got after our rear end. But I think that's what it's about. People still want to sit there and watch, 3 weeks of bowl game and really good college football. And if they'll give it a chance, it'll mean something. Is it your team? If you're an Alabama fan, are you ticked off if your team's in the Bahamas Bowl? Probably. And I get that, right? But there's a lot of student athletes that have unbelievable experiences and are treated at a very high level because of, being able to play in these bowl games that mean a lot to these cities and mean a lot to our players. And I'm all for it, and you're not going to be able to convince everybody of that, but I promise you it was a once in a lifetime experience for everybody part of our program.
Well, that's some great thoughts on, the ever-changing landscape of college football today, Coach. And hey, you've been more than generous with your time. We really appreciate you coming on the show today, Coach Healy, and we'll be rooting for you this fall.
Next time y'all have me back, I'll get a haircut. I know my wife, if she watches this, she's going to be drilling me about how bad my hair looks. I got the Lloyd Christmas haircut going on right now. All right. But appreciate y'all having me, man. If I can ever do anything, let me know.
No problem, Coach.
Thanks, Coach. Go Niners.
Thanks, guys. Go Niners.
American Football Stories is brought to you by Coach Paint. Coach Paint is a great tool that allows us to add graphics to player highlight clips similar to the graphics you see on TV. Coach Paint offers the ability to clearly tell a straight video while increasing retention of information in a shorter amount of time. Up your game with Coach Paint today.
Thank you for listening to American Football Stories podcast. Please subscribe to our YouTube channel, American Football Stories. We are working to grow our network on YouTube and we'd love to have you subscribe. You can find us also on Apple Podcasts, on Twitter at American FB Story, and on our website, AmericanFootballStories.com. I am Robert Parker. My co-host is Nick Knudsen. This has been another episode of American Football Stories.